Lead together, embrace change, enhance everyone's journey. The 3 core principles of SmartStop, a leader in self-storage real estate across North America, reinforce why we're proud to bring you SheEO Lead-In, the podcast featuring curated conversations with powerful women sharing their impactful wisdom. It's a self-knowledge, self-discovery, and self-preneurship audio storage vault created by and for women. SmartStop's presentation of SheEO Lead-In begins right now.
Have you ever felt that you as a woman may not appear to measure up when you see incredible women in strong roles? You may be surprised when hearing from women in these positions and how we all share many of the same challenges. Thank you for joining us for the SheEO Leading-In podcast with Rebecca Jones as we share the journeys of women.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Jones, your host of SheEO Lead-In. We are on an exploration together to discover more about the personal journeys of incredible women in both career and life. We all have paths to share that sometimes take incredible turns, deep resilience, and courage to navigate. My hopes are that the challenges shared here encourage women to take leaps of faith and growth when a journey feels too difficult or unachievable. There is great strength deep within each one of us. These stories are meant to share the ways strong women have taken their dreams to strive and thrive to new heights, despite their sometimes rocky paths, and found a way to lead in. Today we're here with Surinder Goode, and she's a professional podcaster. Really excited to hear the Goode Show, all about what you do on your podcast and who you talk to.
Well, first of all, Rebecca, thank you for having me. And then thank you for calling me a professional podcaster. I like it. I want to put that on my resume. No, my podcast, The Goode Show, it's for military spouses and veterans. And I talk about the lifestyle and the challenges, that we face sometimes and how we overcome them. And then I like to highlight spouse businesses. The smaller the business, the better. If you've put sweat equity into it, let's get the word out.
Well, I think that's very cool. And, I think a lot of people don't really think about the spouse and the families of our military. And I know a lot of them really struggle. I personally come from a military family. My dad, my stepdad, and then also my cousins and my brother were all in the military. Yeah, we, San Diego, definitely. But I think a lot of people don't really think about the families and how hard it is on them, especially when they're gone for 6 months at a time. And just what the toll that it takes on the family. So I'm glad you're sharing those stories.
Yeah, I to your point, I think that we sometimes become the forgotten demo. Mm-hmm. And yes, life isn't easy without your partner. And it takes a certain kind of woman. I think that with spouses, especially in San Diego, what we've become very good at is that we're very adaptable. We can pivot. We move into a house and make it a home. And the other thing, it's a good and a bad thing. I think, Rebecca, like with a lot of women, you do what you have to do for your children, and everything else is just suppressed down. It's difficult on an emotional level because sometimes you're on that emotional roller coaster. He's going away. So the last thing you want to do is have an argument with him. He's coming back. He's forgotten all about the argument. He's a guy. He's forgotten all about it.
Yeah. But
there's really hasn't been closure for the spouse, for the woman. And then you don't want to bring it up when they come back because he's just come back.
Right.
So I think that things tend to surface towards the end of service members' career into the transitioning point, But I mean, I wouldn't personally... I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean, I think you can have the best of both worlds with that,
So I don't know about you, but sometimes our military have to move quite a bit. I know that's really, really tough on the family. The kids starting schools. I went to 3 schools myself, growing up, 3 high schools. That was pretty tough. And I went to 2 different elementary schools. That wasn't as bad.
Yeah.
It was the high schools where it was really tough on me. And I know a lot of these kids go through the same thing. So I don't know. I mean, did they talk a lot about that? Or?
I actually did an episode with a young kid. Well, I call him a young kid. He's a man now.
Yeah.
But he moved 12 times You know, in fact, I think it was more than 12 times. His dad was a Marine. They were constantly moving. And, you know, I had a group of kids in a room once and I said to them, okay, how is it really? Because, you know, we use that word and I don't like it at all, but we use that word resilient. Kids are resilient, you know. And the kids turned around to me and went, quite frankly, it sucked. It sucked having to start a new school. Ourselves, when you talk about high school, we've had to make a decision now that my guy is retired. Do we move now? Or do we wait until she finishes high school? You know, so we've obviously decided to wait until she finishes high school. But then there's a whole different aspect involved with when you move for spouses. If your kid has an IEP at a school and he's situated at point A, you've got to send the IEP to point B. That's got to get processed there. And 9 times out of 10, the kid moves to that school. The school is still finagling how to implement, you know, the IEP for the kid. It isn't right. The fact that you've got to move is a big adjustment anyway.
Right.
And you want to make it as smooth as you can for your kids, you know, because you'll be able to handle it. But so in the education system, you know, outside of California, and even a CONUS, you know, spouses moving a CONUS, it's hard. It is hard. But again, I've spoken to a lot of spouses that wouldn't change it because something good always comes with it. You know, you get to travel to a different place, experience different things. So you got to take the good out of it as well.
Well, you got to find the lemonade in the lemons.
That's right.
Yeah, you definitely need to do that. Because a lot of times, I mean, I look back and I go, oh, I don't even know how I got through that. But I always tried to figure out some way to make it. I'm a very positive person.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to find some positivity in all of it. You can't always just look at it
No.
for face value.
But let me ask you quickly, but you went to 3 different high schools.
I did.
Do you feel that because you went to a couple of different educational, you know, facilities, you moved, do you think that once you got to adulthood, that kind of helped you a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because all the kids said that, yeah.
Oh, sure. Well, and it's because I know that I can adapt.
Yeah.
So it's all about adaptability. I can deal with highly stressful situations.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me because I had to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, so my survival instinct was just to deal with it. And now it's something that just is ingrained in me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes.
I think it definitely does help you. Though, not everyone's that strong.
No.
There are some kids that are in that same situation, even related to one another, where they literally fall apart.
Yeah.
So I have a sibling just didn't do as well and really kind of fell apart over it. So I think it just really kind of depends on your propensity of whether you're strong, but then also, you know, just the support you get from your family. But that doesn't always play into it.
I know.
Unfortunately, it doesn't always play into it.
Yeah, it's. I've spoken to kids that have just had to figure it out.
Yes. Agreed.
You know, which is a shame, but you know, and even my own kids, I got to be honest with you, it's only after my guy retired when we sat down and we discussed, you know, dad not being at home. And it was my daughter that turned around to me one day and she went, it's so weird, dad's at home now.
Right.
He picks me up from school every day. And then normally that's not a crazy statement. But when I looked at her, I thought, well, yeah, girl, half your life your dad's not been here.
Right.
You know?
Well, remember, a lot of it, you know, kids like continuity.
Yes.
They need that structure.
Yeah.
And when you change the structure kind of midstream, it does kind of throw them for a loop, especially when it's been you as the main primary caregiver for such a long time.
Yeah.
And these are things that our listeners probably don't even think about. And I'm glad we're talking about this because it's not unique to them. So hopefully this will speak to someone's heart. They think, oh my gosh, I felt that way. And I didn't realize that honestly is something I've kind of struggled with. Because I think until you're past it, you don't really know how it's affected you. No. And, you know, it's something that, you know, later you might feel like, great, that really helped me. Or, oh, shoot, that's where I start to feel a little bit uneasy because I'm thrown into a new situation because I had that so much as a child.
Yeah, again, I can't imagine from a kid's perspective. I know from my perspective, moving from one country to another and building a business and, changes, cultural and everything. As an adult, it was a bit of a shock, so I can only imagine what kids have to go through. One of the kids did tell me as well, he was in a rural area. He was the only military kid in the school. So again, nobody in the school understood the lifestyle and why his dad was not there for 6 months. And then, oh no, he's not coming home. He's staying another 2 months.
Right.
So yeah, it is nice to be able to get this out. So this, I keep saying civilian world, but the civilian world understands that there's a lot that goes into a military family unit.
Well, and we also, I think, tend to go, oh yeah, they've sacrificed so much, and it's kind of a catchphrase.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
they've sacrificed, but they don't really know the true sacrifice. So I'm glad you're sharing that with the general public, so that they really have a better understanding of that.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned that small businesses and, starting a small business as a military spouse. I think that would actually be something that could bring a lot of value, because when you're at home and your spouse is gone quite a bit,
Yes.
you need something.
Yes.
And, parenting is great and it's a wonderful job. But as your kids tend to get a little bit older, I think most people really need a little something more.
Yes.
And especially if your spouse is not around all the time.
Yeah, and it becomes a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Because again, I started my business simply because I moved to the country, realized real quick that employers weren't falling over themselves to give military spouses work, and I really couldn't understand why. So for me, I started my own business. I started my coffee business because I needed something. Then the other side of the coin is that when they're away, and listen, ladies, those military spouses that are listening, you cannot deny this. When they're away, yes, it's hard when they're away, but you have the house is clean, the kids are on your schedule, you've got the remote control. So you've got a little system going, and that's great while you're building a business while they're away. But then what happens is they come back. Mm-hmm. Now you're still trying to do the business, still trying to do the kids, and now you've got your partner back as well. So but small businesses, I think they're overlooked, and they provide such a lot to the economy.
They do. They employ your neighbors,
yes.
your friends, your sometimes your actual family members.
Yeah.
I mean, it really kind of depends on where you're located. And one thing I did want to bring up. Mm-hmm. So when I think about the military, and this is kind of a little bit off topic, but I think about a lot of times they're taken out of a situation where they have their support group, mm-hmm. their family. So do you want to touch on that? Because I think their military family becomes their family.
Oh, yes. And that's exactly what happened to me. I mean, I always say I feel I'm the most privileged military spouse because I moved from one country to another to be here. I knew the guy I was going to marry, and I knew another friend. And that was it. Yeah. And I thought I knew what day it was and, pretty confident. And 6 days into moving here, he turns around to me and goes, "Hey, well, I got to go." And I'm thinking, what? I just got here, and...
I'm abandoned.
And so he had to go and do what he had to do. And, for a while it's okay because, new place, I'm figuring things out, things are exciting. But the worst thing is time. And when you're sitting there and you don't know a soul, I can admit it now, I couldn't at the time, but I went into this depressive state. I stopped working out, wasn't eating good. I was watching a lot of Jerry Springer.
Well, there's your problem right there.
I was like, wow, they have this show in America? Wow, this is crazy. But, I got depressed.
Yeah.
And... very, very fortunate again that I was living in Coronado, bumped into some woman in the Vons, did not realize she was a military spouse, a mature gal, and she basically took me under her wing. And, she was like, hey, what you're feeling is normal. And that's something I think military spouses need to really understand and accept. It's okay to feel the way you do because you are navigating life by yourself. You're making all and any decisions, it's difficult. It can be hard.
Well, and I think that's, kind of back to your podcast and sharing the information. And yes, it's normal. Yes, this is what you're feeling is something that I felt. And then, other people have felt. That to create that sense of community and then also belonging of there's not something wrong with you that you're feeling the way that you're feeling. Because I think also the depression part of it, because, you feel abandoned. I mean, I kind of made it like a joke, but I would say in some ways, even though you're not abandoned, you would feel a little bit abandoned if you just moved to a new place.
Yeah.
And it's just you and you don't have that support system anymore.
And I question myself because I'm thinking, whoa, you moved from Scotland to the Middle East to move here, what's wrong with you? Well, what's wrong with you? And there wasn't anything wrong with me, And so again, to spouses, especially those that are experiencing their first deployment, I am the military spouse that made all the mistakes. Mm-hmm. So please reach out to your community, ask for support, because there's a lot of military spouses that want to give that.
Let's take a quick smart stop, and then we're going to get back to that part of the uncomfortableness and the scariness of that.
Okay.
SmartStop knows the winning connection is when we elevate success together. SmartStop Self Storage, a California company with nearly 200 properties and over 15 million square feet of rentable storage in the US and Canada, is committed to positively impacting the communities we serve on the national and local level. By aligning our core principles of leading together, embracing change, and enhancing everyone's journey with local initiatives focused on education, health, and social welfare, we all elevate together. Through financial and strategic partnerships with nonprofits and prestigious organizations such as Cloudcast Media, Arrow McLaren IndyCar, Breast Cancer Research Foundation, Wounded Warrior Project, USC Athletics, the Brampton Steelheads, MMA fighters and boxers, and other unique athletes, we aim to foster a sense of unity and pride within the communities we serve, creating a shared identity and generating a positive atmosphere. To learn more about our core values, our locations, and career opportunities, please visit us at smartstopselfstorage.com. SmartStop, elevating success together.
So when you said to yourself, what's wrong with me? I actually, I think a lot of people feel this in different ways. And that is when you make a decision, you go for it, and then it gets a little bit scary. And then you're thinking to yourself, why did I do this to myself? I think, because with every decision that we make, there is a consequence.
Yes.
And it's usually can be a good consequence, right? Good things happen. But sometimes you have like a bad consequence when you make such a big jump and a big decision, So I think for our listeners out there today, when you're feeling uncomfortable, there's also an opportunity.
Yes.
It's not all bad. It could be an opportunity.
Yeah. I completely agree because I think we just get caught up in the whole misery thing.
Yeah.
But it's that old saying, as cliche as it sounds, it's almost like as one door closes, another one opens.
Yeah.
And the thing that we have on our side that I don't think military spouses realize, even though time's an awful thing, it's a good thing as well because we can figure out, okay, which path do we need to take? How do we resolve situations and just make things better?
So I have a question. You're doing great things. It's obvious.
Thank
What did
you.
you do before? What brought you to this whole thing? How did you get involved in podcasting?
Well, the time I had on base with the coffee carts, I always regret, Rebecca, if I could have put a camera there and recorded these conversations, I mean, they were hilarious. They'd be completely inappropriate today, but they were very funny. And I got to learn about not just a service member standing in front of me, but their dreams, their hopes, the challenges that they go through. And I think as a military spouse, having a business on base, I got some insight. So it kind of like helped my relationship as well, But I wish I simply want to acknowledge everybody that has gone and signed on that dotted line, because I think that takes guts.
Courage.
It takes a lot of courage. And I just want to acknowledge military spouses that support. It doesn't matter if you've got a business or not. Your guy or your gal is where they are doing the job they're doing because you're holding down the home front. And that takes a lot. So I just want to acknowledge everybody that supported me, and just get some good stories out there.
Well, I think you need to write a book. I'm just saying. I mean, it seems rather obvious to me. But I think writing a book would be a way. And I think there's also the part, a coffee shop is much like a bar in some ways.
Yes.
Because it's disarming.
Uh-huh.
Your coffee, you got your coffee, all is good. You start out your day right. Much like a lot of people end their day with a drink. Not everyone, of course, but, just having that disarming conversation with someone and probably really needing just to talk to someone. Yeah,
it's amazing that the coffee can become such a community builder. Mm-hmm. You go into a coffee shop these days and 9 times out of 10 somebody's standing to the left or right, you normally acknowledge them, go, hey, what's up? Or it's a conversation starter.
It is.
And it was great to hear their stories and really get to know who allows everybody to sleep at night.
So let's talk a little bit about, I talk a lot of times about balance with work and your regular personal life. I want to know, in a military family, is there such thing as a balance? I mean, especially when your spouse comes back after being gone, 6 months, 8 months, a year sometimes. I mean, sometimes even longer than that. How do you find a way back? Because I think this would be very inspiring to someone that's listening today that is kind of struggling with that.
I think it is. I've spoken to service members and they have admitted to me the hardest thing about deployments is going back home. And that's not in a negative way. I have realized just for myself that most military families, there's an element of conditioning that takes place because service member is conditioned. And for myself, I experienced some difficulties with him coming back from deployment. Because really what you're doing is now you have to relinquish some control. Mm-hmm. And I'm a type A personality. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, dude, I got it. Yeah. And it took me a while to realize that I don't want to take the man out of the man. Right. So communication and honest communication. Sometimes words are going to hurt, but if you're not honest, then nothing works. Nothing works. And I can't stress that enough. Because I know people don't want to be honest and they don't want to hurt other people's feelings, but you have to be honest about, okay, I'm feeling like this now that you've come back home after 6 months and I've been doing this way and now you want to do it like this and it doesn't sit well with me. It's just a conversation. Have a conversation.
So, Surinder, you touched on something that I think everyone needs to think about, whether it's a job, whether it's a career, whether it's a relationship, every relationship. Mm-hmm. Honesty.
Yeah.
And being able to say difficult things is vital.
Yes.
Vital for any of it to work. You can't work in a job where someone is doing something that is messing everything up for everyone else and not say a word about it. You can't. It's impossible. Or you want things done a certain way and you're the boss and you don't articulate to someone that's working for you that, gee, that's not the way I want it done. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to have the honest conversations.
Yes.
And say the difficult things. You don't have to be a jerk about it, obviously. But being authentic and connecting and saying, hey, this is not working and here's why.
Yeah.
Here's how I see it. How do you see it?
Yeah.
Compromise is vital in any situation or any relationship. So I'm glad you brought that up. So let me ask you this. When you're talking to other military families, Do you think there's a difference when a husband is deployed or when a wife is deployed, or are they somewhat the same?
I can only go by the people that I've spoken with and the male spouses that I have spoken to. Again, it's a double-edged sword because they don't want to reach out into the community and say, hey, I need childcare for tonight, And in some ways, they seem to manage quite well because, again, it comes down to some things are just inherent in males and females,
Yeah.
It's like the first time I went on a trip, went back home to Scotland, I'm in a panic state because I'm thinking to myself, my kids are going to get pizza every night. They're not going to... they're going to be eating hot dogs. And I came back from that trip and I had to have a heart-to-heart with myself and say, was it really worth all the stress? The kids are alive. They're good.
Nobody died.
Nobody died.
You know
what I mean? So sometimes I think we've just got to take a bit of a step back and just assess the situation. And sometimes we don't really need to overreact.
I'm glad you brought that up because just thinking about wisdom and sharing with other military spouses that are younger, what are some important things that you would want them to know? Some lessons that you've learned personally?
I am an old school military spouse. When my husband goes to work, he goes to work. I don't need to be bothering him with anything. This is nothing to do with gender roles because when I go to work, I certainly don't need him calling me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think you for young military spouses, you have to respect the place where your partner is going to work. They are going to work in areas where they can't take phones. There are rules, there are regulations. Service member didn't make them up. It's just the way that rolls. Some things we just can't change. To our point earlier on, we can only control ourselves. We can't change certain things. I think young spouses, if you thought that your guy was never going to go away on a trip, then think again because the military will always travel. And the last thing, the only consistent thing with the military is change. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
The military has to go up on what's going on in the world. So it's going to constantly change.
So you talked a little bit about earlier, sort of, I would consider her a role model. You said when you first joined that you had that older woman that really helped you out. I think it's important to create that community with the military spouses and that whole, I'm glad that you're sharing it with other people, but how do you think, and did that help equip you more than anything else in your life?
I think the first thing it made me feel was normal. That was it. It was the huge relief because I had all these emotions inside of me and they were all negative because I'm thinking, what's wrong with you? You're in America, you're in Coronado, you're living la vida loca, why are you so miserable? She made me feel normal. It is okay to experience these feelings. And she also said to me, listen, you got to put your pride aside because everybody needs some help. So don't be, too proud to ask because if you are, you're just going to end up miserable.
Well, and you'll feel alone.
Yes.
I think creating that friendship and that kinship is so much better than trying to go it alone.
Oh, absolutely.
Because then you can't understand anything about what you're feeling.
No.
Because it's foreign.
Yeah.
I mean, did you, were you from a long line of family that was in the military? Or?
No.
Okay,
but
so it really was foreign then.
It was foreign to a certain extent. My first interaction with the military was in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. So I had some interaction with them, had some idea, but there was a study a long time ago, the flight attendants and military kind of match well because they're both used to getting up and going kind of thing, and that's great until one person doesn't go anywhere.
Then everything changes.
Yeah.
I get that. So what really was the catalyst for you to decide on the podcast itself to share these stories? What really was the reason for that?
I think my love for and of the military, because I come from a culture, a community, and an era where I was told what to do, how to do it, then judged, And I remember the first time that I walked onto a military base and opened my business, this strange thing happened. People came up to me, bought coffee from me, had chit-chat with me, and walked away. Nobody judged me. And to me, that was huge. That was everything. I love being a part of a family where there is an unwritten, unspoken rule. Like when my guy's gone on deployment, I've had a couple of phone calls from guys, hey, you good? You need anything? That to me speaks volumes to be a part of this family, So that's why I want to share the stories of these humans that put on a uniform and stand guard overnight in foreign countries away from families, giving up their freedom so we can be at home and watch Real Housewives of whatever crap city and have a beer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never want those guys that I sold coffee to or who supported me ever to be forgotten.
So when you're talking to military spouses that want to open a business, what advice would you give them to say that you would want them to not miss from our discussion today?
Do your due diligence. I just spoke to an entrepreneur who told me they wanted to open a coffee shop. And when I asked them what time they got out of bed, they told me 11 in the morning. And I thought, well, okay, don't know what kind of coffee shop you're opening, my friend.
That's not going to work.
No. So do your due diligence. And don't listen to the white noise. Every time I've opened a business, there's been a lot of white noise. Reach out. There's a lot of entities out there like the Rosie Network. And DM me if you want to at the Goode Show. But the important thing is that you actually start. Otherwise it's just going to be an idea in your head. Start it and you will come across people that genuinely want to help.
And will come to your business and support you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So what's next for you?
Oh, gosh, I don't know.
I think it's a long list, isn't it?
It is. And one of my biggest passions as I've been doing podcasts around San Diego. And if I get emotional, it is what it is. I'm at that age where I don't care about it anymore. Last year, I interviewed 6 military spouses that dumpster dive. Food is a basic human necessity. Nobody should be without it. And my husband would never have gone on a deployment thinking that we had a food insecurity in our house. So one of my big passions is that through my nonprofit MilFam movement, I want to be able to put food on the table, particularly for our junior enlisted in San Diego. Because San Diego, as we both know, you got to pay to live here.
I know. It's expensive.
It's yeah. And so with the economy the way it is, one of, my goals is to help our junior enlisted. I'm a very proud senior enlisted spouse, and there's a lot of us out there that are gung-ho and doing good stuff.
All right. So you have the network to make it happen?
I hope so.
You're building the network to make it happen.
Yes, every day I'm building that network and, making more people aware that this is an issue in San Diego.
It is.
And it's something that we need to, we have to overcome this. This cannot be a problem.
Well, and let's go back to the point of if it doesn't happen, then how are we going to get more people to enlist?
Yeah, exactly.
If they have to worry about putting food on the table, how are we going to make that happen? It seems it would be impossible.
I've always said, and I always preface it with, I don't know anything about anything. But I think that if service members in San Diego, if their COLA, cost of living allowance, was raised rather than BAH, I think the family unit would be much better off. Period. How that happens and the intricacies involved in that, I don't know. But,
I'm hearing some activism here. I am. I'm hearing the activism. I'm hearing you. I can see you doing it.
Yeah. Well,
You
I
have to
don't want
manifest it.
anybody to be without food.
Of course
You know,
not. Yeah.
there's no need. No need.
All right. Well, we're going to stay tuned for that because I think we're going to need to come back at some point in time when you're doing great things with that.
Well, thank you. Yes, I hope to.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on, Rebecca.
Now that was powerful. We hope you've been lifted and encouraged by today's inspiring voice. Always remember that life doesn't look exactly the same for each one of us. Never stop dreaming, striving, and thriving. In future episodes, we look forward to bringing you powerful stories from amazing women who learned how to lead in to challenges. Thank you for listening and being part of our community with SheEO host, Rebecca Jones.
The incredible curated SheEO conversation you just enjoyed was brought to you by SmartStop, a leader in self-storage real estate and a company that upholds its core principles of leading together, embracing change, and enhancing everyone's journey. To learn more about SmartStop, please visit smartstopselfstorage.com.
Cloudcast Media.